Greetings. All right. Thought I'd try a different entrance there. Not sure how well it worked. All right. So I wanted to shoot a quick video here just because we are starting kind of our next unit. It's sort of one of our final units really because obviously with last week's news that we're going to be doing the online schooling through the rest of the year. We're probably not going to be covering Hamlet. At least not in its entirety. I might try to adjust it or fit parts of it in, but you don't have the books. Just creates there's a lot of difficulties with that. So we are starting our Sir Gawain and the Green Knight unit right now. I want to talk briefly about kind of how Beowulf ended up. I entered all your test scores today. I thought people did pretty well. I graded somewhat leniently because this is just a weird situation. I enjoyed kind of reading that sort of writing. I like seeing those responses. That's sort of what I miss about our in-person time is that both classes, first and second block, were very opinionated, and I liked that stuff. So I was able to see that come through a little bit. People comparing Beowulf to Patroclus and Odysseus and Ajax. Hector, there was a couple Hector people out there, so I appreciate that. So it was just kind of nice to do that. So good job on that. And kind of moving forward now, our plan is that we're going to be covering this Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which is our theory and legend. We're going to be covering that over the next couple weeks. So I want to talk about what that's going to look like a little bit, and also kind of explain some of like what is like the assignment that you're doing for today, and also kind of moving forward. So Sir Gawain we jump forward again a certain stretch of years. Beowulf is that Old English, right? Where we looked at that and it was like almost German and we couldn't really read much of it. Sir Gawain gets us to Middle English. So this is kind of like Canterbury Tales. This is like shortly before, this is the period of time before we get to Shakespeare. So the English language is looking a lot closer to what it looks like nowadays, but it's still not quite there. I think as far as like, when you read the book though, it's going to be something that's pretty easy to understand. And also kind of going through that, we're seeing much more of the reliance on like Christianity and stuff in this, because Christianity was such a driving force, just kind of in the development of basically everything back then. But so this is going to be a little bit different because with Beowulf, I said it from the get-go, Beowulf he's just a hero. Like, I mean, he sees monsters, he fights monsters, he puts himself in the face of danger to protect others, to protect his people, to protect other people. It's just really kind of obvious. Sir Gawain, on the other hand, is one of the Knights of the Round Table. And those knights are sort of judged by their own values, all right? Some of you mentioned on your tests, you looked at how Beowulf represented certain Anglo-Saxon values. In this case, the Knights of the Round Table are judged by their own values. Those are the knightly tenets, the ones that you were assigned 3 of them that you had to kind of put together some information, give a definition, some examples, stuff like that. I'll be taking kind of like the best of the best and making a good list that everyone has access to. But if you kind of look at the screen here, the 9 knightly tenets that people did have were prowess, justice, honesty, chivalry, humility, loyalty, piety, valor, and defense. So those are the ones like you should have had 3 of these, right? And like that's what you're working on. That's what I'll be taking that from. This is what we're going to judge our heroes by in this unit. That's the main thing, and it's trickier. Like with Beowulf, we didn't have like these terms to look at. So it was like, is he being heroic? Yes. Whereas here we're going to be. There's a lot of things kind of going on, and it's hard to be all of these things at all times, and so there's going to be times where maybe Sir Gawain is showing certain traits, but he's lacking in other ones. That'll be fine. So we'll kind of use these tenets to sort of relate back to the concept of hero. It's going to be one thing I remind you about in the first few days is that when we say knight in this unit, like we're kind of equating it with hero to kind of like make that common thread, right? We'll be bringing back the hero's journey a little bit for Sir Gawain. His challenge is noticeably different than what Beowulf's was or what Achilles faced in the Iliad. But these terms also will actually relate them back a little bit to some of the other heroes too, to see how they were presented at other times. But these are things that we can look at to kind of understand what those values in this time period, what they were, what they looked like. So that will be coming back to these over the next few weeks. The Sir Gawain unit in general, I think it's going to be about 3 weeks. The book isn't very long. If you've already looked at it, we'll start reading it Wednesday or Thursday of this week. And we'll, as we kind of proceed through that, then with Hamlet sort of being up in the air, what we cover, things like that. Instead, what we'll do is we'll kind of focus like the last part of class for this school year on a presentation that we would normally be doing. We're still going to kind of go through that process, but we're going to be looking at sort of like modern unsung heroes and how they're heroic, and in what ways do they kind of relate to some of the heroes that we read about, and in what ways do they show how like the concept of a hero has changed over time, and what other ways do they maybe show that like certain things with a hero haven't changed over centuries. So we're going to be kind of looking at that. We'll get to that in a couple of weeks. I'll start assigning like the hero that you have. Try to find a fun way to do that. To kind of just let you know who you're going to be researching and who you're going to be kind of working with for that. But as far as the presentation side of things go, we'll figure that out. It might be one-on-one meet. You might be able to present in small groups, but that's something that we can kind of talk about later. As we're going forward with this, if you have any questions about anything, it can be about class, it can be about school in general. You know, I've had a couple of you reach out to me through email, just like with questions about, you know, prom and graduation and stuff like that. And I'm more than happy to be there and kind of respond to that. Sometimes I don't have the answers, but I'm more than willing to be kind of an ear for you, someone that you can kind of like go to with those problems. And if I do have the answers, I'll share them with you. And if I don't, a lot of times I can, you know, try to find those answers or direct you in the right way. But yeah, other than that, you know, I will probably be putting together something for later this week or early next week, dealing with like the early stages of Sir Gawain, just because it is a little bit different than Beowulf, the structure, everything like that. And so we'll kind of see how everyone's doing. Otherwise, I hope you're all doing well. Take care, and I will look forward to seeing you hopefully very shortly. Bye.